you are like the big fish in a small pond. You're the one who looks like, you have it all together. And one thing that I've heard is that if you're the one who's always giving advice, you have outgrown the space. With him, I know I can stand no matter what. It's your girl, Miss Faith, and I'm back with another video. If you're not familiar with my channel, we talk about everything when it comes to self-improvement and elevating to our higher self. If this interests you, go ahead, like, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below on what you think about this topic. So I have my notes down here. So if you see me looking down, you already know I got my notes over here. So I really was interested in talking about this topic because I come from a small town. I initially come from a small town, and I know how it feels to feel like it's time to move, but what do I do next? How do I know it's time to move? Why should I move? What's the purpose of moving? And I just wanted to share some of my input and my thoughts. If you are in a small town and you just feel really uncomfortable and it's just time to just like put things into gear, this is just a reminder of why it's time for you to move out of that small town. So one thing I really want to talk about is like, it's just never a perfect time to move. It's never. Like, I know this for a fact because when I was moving out of my small town, I remember my brother coming from New York, and he just like picked me up and he was like, yeah, we not finna stay here. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? When I was moving, I had a boyfriend, I was in a relationship, I thought I was gonna be with my man forever. I was like, no, I have my boyfriend, I don't want to leave. And my brother was like, no, it's time to move on. Like, you're not gonna get what you need from this city. Like, it's just not enough opportunities. So I remember moving, and it was kind of like abrupt. We didn't do a lot of planning, but we just knew like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and we're just gonna stick to the plan and just figure everything as we go. And that just goes back to just showing me that there's never a perfect time. There's never a perfect time to move. The best thing I can say when it comes to planning is don't overdo the planning. Don't feel like you have to hit a certain target of $8,000, $10,000 to move. Don't feel like you need your family, your grandmother, your uncles, your girlfriend, your boyfriend to move with you to another city. Like, just go ahead and make this plan for yourself. Make this plan for another 6 months, another 7 months. Organize yourself that you'll have a little bit of emergency funds, prep, go to the city that you want to visit, go to the place that you want to visit, and then go ahead and move. Like, stop waiting for that perfect time, because what happens is it's keeping you stagnant, it's keeping you comfortable. And that's why you're really in that small town, because you're comfortable and you're not growing. So don't wait for the perfect time to go ahead and make the decision to move. Like, you gotta just make a quick plan, stick to it for the next 6 months, 6 to 9 months, and then go ahead and move. Do it. Even if you don't have family who live in the next, state over or in the next area over, like, don't wait on other people, because people are moving at their pace, and you don't want to stop what you got going on because people aren't ready to do stuff with you. Like, this journey is for yourself. This life is for yourself. And sometimes you got to be the first person out of your family. You got to be the first person to do something different so you can provide people more opportunities. So get out of that mindset. I notice when it comes to small towns as well is that there's a mindset. Sometimes that mindset is small-minded because there's not enough experiences. Sometimes in those small towns, that's why people are like, oh, the police is messing with me, or they're like, there's not a lot of job opportunities. Everybody here is a nurse. Everybody here is just doing civil jobs, stuff like that. But you have to remember, it's a small town. The opportunities are gonna look different. The demographic is gonna look different. The socioeconomic layout is gonna look different. So you have to be mindful of, like, there are gonna be more corners. There are gonna be more limitations in small towns because the population isn't there. When living in a small town, you also have to be mindful that most people have their perception of you because most people know somebody. Everybody knows a little bit of everyone. So your reputation may not be the best. Your reputation might be gossip. It may be incorrect. People may have the wrong perception of you. And so when you're trying to do something different in this small town, people don't necessarily respect it because they feel as if you are this person and I know you for X, Y, and Z. So you have to get away from that small town mentality because a lot of time people just know people and they don't really get to know you, and then they have this misperception of you. And you every day we're elevating ourselves. Every day we're growing. Every day we're trying to be the best version of ourselves, and we're constantly changing. And how you were when you were there, when you were in high school, is completely different now that you are in your 30s, in your 20s. You're a completely different person. So that small town no longer serves you. That small town was somewhere that you were, you grew up and you were raised, and it helped you to, have certain things, but now it's time to elevate. Also, you are like the big fish in a small pond. You're the one who looks like, you have it all together. And one thing that I've heard is that if you're the one who's always giving advice, you have outgrown the space. You should not be the one who's always giving advice. You should not be the go-to person. If you're always a go-to person, that means you need to be in a bigger tank where you can go to someone else now. You get what I'm saying? So you have to be mindful that you're not just sitting there and people are feeding off of you, but you're not being fed. You need to be fed as well because you don't know everything. Life is full of so many experiences. There's so many opportunities. There's so many people who are doing things, and you just want to make sure that you're kind of keeping yourself rejuvenated, that you're keeping yourself open-minded to different spaces and different people and different things. And I'm not saying that being in a small town completely limits you of those things, but there is a limitation, And most people, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that small towns, there's cons to it. There's pros to small towns. I could talk about the pros in a small town. I feel like small towns are really great to raise families. But if you're young and you're thriving, or even if you just have some of that fire in you, like, you might want to be somewhere that is feeding that fire. You might want to be in a space where you're hustling and you're moving. Like, you're too young to be sitting around. You're too young to just be working at your mom's and dad mechanic shop. You're too young. You're thriving too much. You have too much fire in you to just be sitting down and being somebody's baby mama or being somebody's baby daddy. Like, there's too much life in you, and if you feel like you're not living, that's where all that depression is coming from. That's where all that anger is coming from. That's where all that I don't financially have it, because you're in a small town. There's not a lot of opportunities. There's no hustle and bustle. There's nothing to motivate you to go and do something bigger and find yourself in the midst of a bigger space. Like, it's not giving you enough wiggle room to find yourself. That's what I'm pretty much trying to say. Exposure. When you live in a small town, there's not a lot of exposure. A lot of people just know what they know, and they know based off of their corner of that world, So a lot of times people haven't experienced certain things, so they can't tell you how it is to live in Japan. They never even been to Japan. You know what I'm saying? People can't tell you how to, find different ways and avenues to make more income, or generate more income, because they've never really done it. You can't expand on your profession or your skill because a lot of people have never done it in that small town. So you just got to make sure that you're in an environment where, like, if they're known, especially if it's a city or a state that's really known for something that you're trying to do in life, like, why not tap in? Why not go ahead and seek and find out more information or be in that type of environment? Because it's actually speaking to the things that you need, the things that you want to elevate yourself. touch on is like more opportunity. There's more job opportunities, more career opportunities. There's more opportunities to find ways to make more money. You got to look into those things when you're moving out of a small town, because when you're in a small town, the limitations are there. There are limits there. Like, you know, there's only maybe 1 or 2 high schools. There's only probably, you know, those type of things. Like, there's only a few places you can work at. So making sure you're in a bigger city so you have more opportunity to do the things that you really want to do. And lastly is, just because you live in a small town doesn't mean you can't go back. I'm not saying that you have to leave the small town and never come back. No, you want to leave the small town, find some exposure, some experiences for yourself, and bring something back. So when you are bringing something back, you're giving a new perspective on life. You're giving a new business venture on life. You're creating more job opportunities in that small town. Because when you are the person who lives in that same small town and you've never moved, what can you bring back to the community? Like, you really can't bring nothing back because you've never left. So you really want to make sure that you kind of leave, you know, do something different, go back to that small town and help it grow, help it generate more money for the city, get in more in positions, you know, for that city. So those are the thoughts that I have in regards to moving out of a small town. Again, I've had experiences living in a small town, and again, I could talk about the pros, because there are pros. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and just say like living in a bigger city, living in a different area is gonna change your whole life, but I just think it helps to elevate. I think it just helps to give you a new sense of growth. Because I personally feel like when it comes to like obstacles come in movement. If you're not moving, then what obstacles are you really dealing with? You're really actually staying stagnant, and you're just being complacent, and then you're wondering why time is moving by and you haven't done a lot of stuff. It's because you haven't really been moving. And you know, on this channel I really talk a lot about movement, because it's important to move, because moving keeps your adrenaline, moving keeps the blood pumping. So I hope this helps you if you are in a space, or if you actually been through this. Like, let me know what you guys think about this topic. Like, did you have to move somewhere to find yourself and grow? Let me know. But anyways, I'll talk to y'all on another video. Peace.